boss in the house.
What is going on, gamers? SK here again with another Tera console boss rundown video. This time we'll be touring through the Sinestral Manor. Our first boss of this creepy dungeon is the Duchess Tera. The Duchess is a very small moveset. She's very flighty, but she hits hard, and her cone AoE attacks does quite a bit of damage. Don't say I didn't warn you. At around 90% life, she'll run away and summon a bunch of creepy Annabelle-style dolls that'll proceed to Bride of Chucky your face. Luckily, they are weak if separated and can be one-shot by any class, even a priest. She does this move again at around 20%, I guess sensing her doom is rushing towards her. But once again, the cheap dolls can be easily dispatched. Now, it's fair I tell you, there is an optional boss before this, but not many people actually choose to run into it. It's not something that you'll really want to go fight, because it's something straight out of Conker's Bad Fur Day. Yep, that's right. It's an evil teddy bear. Quite honestly, I'd say from this point on in the game, you would actually need a tank to run some of these bosses, because I've taken aggro from Tera and I've taken aggro from every other boss in this dungeon, and they hit pretty hard. And this is with me using, I think, full +9 gear at the time. Either tanking class would do, as long as they have the vague idea what their aggro skill does. And they need to actually keep aggro up. Because the healer will actually be healing a lot in this dungeon, and will be debuffing a lot, and the more you heal, the more aggro you take. And without a skill to remove aggro from yourself, you're kind of just dooming yourself to be attacked by the boss at some point. Our next boss is in the room next to this boss, actually. He goes by the name of Duke Volperon. This boss is less flighty than his mistress, but will instead charge headfirst at you to boast his power. And power he does have. I haven't been able to pinpoint the animation of the move as of yet, but he does a move where he bounces on his cane and kicks you, and this move has the ability to one-hit you if your damage reduction is not high enough. Other than that, just watch out for his cone AoEs and his single target attacks. Once in a while, he will surprise you with a small AoE indicator that also deals a decent amount of damage. But beyond all that, as long as you have a tank, your party should be safe, as long as the tank keeps aggro. I've got to say though, I do love the fact that Tera puts an emphasis on needing a tank in these dungeons and in the raid bosses, because a lot of games don't do that anymore. You just run in, DPS the boss, and you're done. So I'm actually grateful that they're trying to keep to the mechanics of you need to tank this boss, you need to have someone to absorb the damage, you need to have someone to heal that person, and then you need to have your DPS. Like, that's still a good mechanic that all games should be running, but not many games are doing anymore. So now the Duke has fallen, and it's time for the final boss, Malgarios. Personally, I feel this is one of the harder bosses you'll face while leveling up through dungeons, because of its raw damage potential and speed. To start off, she has a rush attack to where she stabs his claws into the ground and continuously charges forward. I feel sorry for anyone who isn't a tank in that situation. The move has the ability to kill most classes from full health. She usually uses it after a stun attack to ensure she gets her way. Her other attacks are just as dangerous, one being a forward jump to whatever she is aggroing at the time, and another being a 180 spin with the ability to knock down, and a 360 spin with the same ability to knock down. Her final attack is a gunk shot of nasty that she spits at you. This applies a debuff and can sometimes stun you as well. Malgarios also has a mechanic to where every time she loses 20% of health, she will retreat to the center of the room and spawn tiny versions of herself. This activates at the 80%, 60%, 40%, and 20%. When she does this, I suggest that you get one of your party members with good armor to run around and kill these, because they will aggro and kill the squishy damage dealers. Luckily, they also go down quickly. Well, that's about it for this boss. Hopefully you learned something useful here and you can apply it in the game when it launches later today. So, as I was editing this video, I ended up getting into it with a player on Facebook about the term pay to win, because they were loosely throwing around the term pay to win. And they were telling new players that the game is pay to win, because the game has cash shop. Now, the term pay to win does not stem from the fact that the game has cash shop items, or has a cash shop, period. The term pay to win stems from the fact that the items in the cash shop are there to boost players to a level where other players cannot compete with them. And I kind of wanted to hit this on the head before it got out of control with the newer players, because I don't want them thinking, oh, this is pay to win, I don't want to have to spend money on this game just to actually compete. I want to be able to play, which is what you can do. So I'm going to give you an example of a pay-to-win game that I played when I was younger and first got into MMOs. This game, it started off fine, early caps, there wasn't that much cash shop items involved. And then got to around 89 cap, and they started pushing cash shop items to where you needed cash shop items to enhance your weapons to +9, which +9 was being the max enhancement level for weapons at the time. And then you need cash shop items to enhance your armor to +9. You need extenders to grind, which would extend your HP and your SP to another level of where you can't be killed easily in dungeons. You need costumes that gave you extra stats like critical percent times 10 or critical percent times 15, or like stuff like that, or like extra defense and extra attack. Well, this company was actually genius in the way they presented their cash shop, because then they included a boss in the game, and there was only one world boss. This boss spawned every day, every 24 hours, right after he died. And this was not an instance boss. This was not a boss that you would just join your guild and go fight and kill the boss. No, you had to run against everyone else in the server that was prepared to fight this boss. Not to mention the fact that you needed extenders that doubled your HP and SP. You needed 50% charms to boost your attack and defense by 50%. These charms were sold separately, by the way. You needed 20% charms to stack on top of those 50% charms to boost your attack and defense even more. You need a little blessing to where you don't lose EXP when you die. You'd also need a feather so you can die and come right back to the exact same spot. Those were all sold in cash shop, and there were no other ways to obtain these items. So you had to go ahead and spend, say, $100 just to get these charms, these extenders, these blessings, and then you have to spend a whole nother probably $200 to enhance all your weapons to +9, enhance all your armor to +9, just to make sure you have a chance to fight against this boss. And then you needed 4 other people just like that to be in your party, so you would have the chance to deal enough damage to beat the other teams that are trying to rush for maximum damage on the boss, so you could get the drop. And there was only one drop per night. That was actually like the biggest downside of that. There was one drop per night, which means every night there was one weapon on the server, and God forbid if a gladiator got that weapon. The gladiators were the most OP class in the game in PvP and PvE when it came to the raid boss. Like, the gladiators, they took over the role of tanking, damage dealing, and the raid was set up. You would have either 4 gladiators in a party and 1 cleric to make sure the gladiators had buffs, to make sure that they had extra attack, extra critical, extra defense. So you'd have 4 gladiators dealing damage and 1 cleric. It got to the point where they started doing 5 gladiator parties with no clerics in the party, but the clerics were still giving out critical buffs because they got to the level of where the clerics could actually give a critical buff to where where they would deal 100% crits all the time. So take away like 10% attack from each of these 5 gladiators, but then give them 100% crit. So they deal 100% more damage than what they were dealing before. And each time a gladiator axe dropped, the gladiator got it, they just got stronger, that same party would win the raid every single time. There was no room for anyone else to try because the people that were spending all the money could buy the charms. They even got to a point where they didn't have to buy charms for a while, because we ended up getting to a point where I think the cap was 105. The armor was so good and the weapons were so good that we could raid the boss without using charms. And then they buffed the boss, so where we had to use more charms. Mind you, this was a level 91 boss, by the way. That, in essence, is pay to win. At least in Tera, if I started today and someone started a year from now, they could come in and still catch up to me without even having to do so much work. My point here is, stop calling the game that's not pay to win, pay to win. Like, most of you have never even seen what pay to win is. You just go along with what the crowd is saying because you feel like it's the cool thing to do. Anyway, thank you for your time. Like and subscribe to the video. Be back for more. There's going to be more content. Tera's launching in, I guess, 2 hours after I post this video. And I hope to see some of y'all on that PvP channel so we can shake hands. Alright, I'm out. Peace.